I would like to welcome all of you who are joining us online today from the United States and Israel. This tribute to Irma Milstein, who died last March at the age of 94, is an expression of gratitude for the enormous contribution that she and her husband made to create the Irma and Paul Milstein Heart Center at Hadassah Hospital at Ein Kerem. I remember the dedication that we had at the opening of the center in 2018 with the joy and excitement that accompanied the occasion. The creation of the best cardiology center in Israel and among the best in the world brought such pride and joy to so many people for whom this has provided not only treatment, but the most advanced intervention in the field. We are deeply grateful to Howard and Abby Milstein for having supported the development of this project and are delighted that they are joining us today. I now turn the program over to the physicians, administrators, and friends of Irma to express their appreciation and to the Milstein family. Thank you so much.
Dearest Milstein family, it's really an honor and pleasure for me to talk and remember Irma and Paul Milstein and their great contribution to the Heart Center at Hadassah. Irma Milstein was an elegant, radiant lady and exuded enthusiasm and compassion. I admired and am very grateful for her commitment to Jewish life and how she translated her devotion into generosity that furthered the spiritual, educational, and ultimately the health needs of the Jewish people. I remember visiting her and Mr. Paul Milstein in their exquisite apartment, talking about our vision for the Milstein Heart Center and how she wanted to create the best heart center in the new Hadassah Tower. Since we moved into the Irma and Paul Milstein Heart Center on the third floor of the Davidson Tower, each and every cardiac patient treated at the Hadassah had a more comfortable, a more positive, and definitely a health-giving experience. Irma's openness, her creativity, and her activist spirit made her stand out as an exemplar, a Henrietta Salt of her generation. The new place that we were able to build and the vision of Irma and Paul made us the best heart center in Israel and probably the world. With each and every patient that we are able to give the best treatment to the cardiac patient, we are feeling so much grateful for the vision that brought us to here.
My name is Fatin Haddad. I am living in Bet Safafa, Jerusalem. 2 days ago, I had a cardiac arrest. It was very tough. My daughter, she is a doctor. She was beside me. Magen David came and take me to Hadassah here in Karim. The doctors are more than nice. Really, all of them perfect. I thank all the people who support this project here in the Hadassah, and thank you very much.
I would like to use this opportunity for this event that is taking place in memory of Irma Milstein to thank you for the donation of the Irma and Paul Milstein Cardiac Center. The importance of this cardiac center is enormous, not only for Hadassah as a medical organization, but really for the population of Jerusalem and Israel. Because in this environment that has been created, it's not only the infrastructure, but also the people and the physicians that work there that allow us to provide the most advanced medical care possible today. It is important to understand that over the past few decades, cardiology has changed enormously. And the ability today that we have in order to correct aortic valve problems, mitral valve problems, allow once more blood flow to the heart to be corrected, and also to treat with medications heart failure. All these are possibilities that were unheard of, unthinkable a few decades ago. Thanks to the Heart Center, and thanks really to the vision of Irma Milstein, we are able to provide all these advanced interventions in the benefit of the population of Jerusalem and Israel, and also to allow us to continue the important task of Hadassah of education and teaching. So from the bottom of our hearts, really thank you, and we will always remember the vision of Mrs. Irma Milstein and her contribution to our organization.
Dear family of Irma Milstein, colleagues, friends, my name is Ofer Amir and I'm the new director of the Heart Institute at Hadassah and Karem. On behalf of all our team, physicians, nurses, technicians, we would like to thank you very much for the generosity of Irma and your family that allows us to have this great facility in which we take care of the patients and their families, doing it gladly and humbly, and take care of their cardiac problems, opening their occluded arteries, fixing their valves in the cath labs, treating their life-threatening arrhythmia, and doing our best for their health, no matter what gender, religion, or any social economical status they are coming, either from Jerusalem, outside of Jerusalem, and even sometimes outside of Israel. All of this is only because of your generosity, and we deeply cherish it, and we deeply thank you for all of it. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I am truly honored to be participating in this special program to honor the memory of a very generous and wonderful woman, Irma Milstein. I met Irma Milstein back in 1998. Indeed, I met her over the phone. At the time, I was the National Major Gift Chair of Hadassah, which is a volunteer position, and often phone calls were filtered to me for people that were asking information about giving to Hadassah. So I was a very lucky recipient to get the call from Irma Milstein. In fact, I remember the conversation. She said, "Good morning, I'm Irma Milstein. I would like to make a gift to honor my daughter's birthday. I believe it was Rosalind's birthday. And I read an article in Hadassah magazine about the Hadassah Hebrew University School of Public Health. And I think that's something that would resonate with her. So I'd like to make a gift to that program in honor of Rosalind's birthday." Of course, that began a wonderful conversation, kind of getting to know you about Irma. She asked about me, what my position was, my role in Hadassah, and the friendship began that very day. Indeed, we spent a lot of time together, Irma and I, usually over lunch, usually about once a month, sometimes once every other month. Very often at the Park Lane Hotel, which is right across the street from Hadassah House when we were located on West 58th Street. We would talk about everything, a great deal about family. And for those of you watching, I know you know how much Irma loved her family and was so proud of her family, her children, her grandchildren. And I even enjoyed the birth of her very first grandchild, and I know now there are many others. Irma spoke about her travels with her dear Paul, how they cruised around the world, spoke a lot about Israel, spoke a lot about the politics of Israel, about the people of Israel, about the condition of the Jews around the world. She always had a great deal to share. She was always so informed. She was always so interesting to be with. Of course, I in turn would brief Irma about what was happening in Israel through Hadassah, about our projects and our programs, about our hospitals. She was very intrigued to know more about what is our cutting edge work, what kind of research are we involved in, and how could she help? So when I began to talk about the seeds of the idea of building a new hospital building on our Karem campus, Irma was very interesting to hear more. And as the years went on, it was now several years after I met her in 1998, I was appointed as the national campaign coordinator for a campaign to build a new hospital tower from top to bottom, brand new building. And when Irma heard that, she said to me, well, when you build that building, please call me, keep me posted. I want to be part of that. Well, of course, that was a thrill to hear. And I knew a great deal by that point about Irma and Paul Milstein's philanthropy, and I knew how generous they were. During our lunches, there were times I went to the beautiful New York apartment and had lunch with Irma in her apartment. And I was privileged at that time to meet her late husband, Paul Milstein. What struck me about Paul Milstein is that his presence filled the room immediately as soon as he'd walk in. And one day he went to the soaring floor-to-ceiling windows of the beautiful apartment, looked out, spread out his arms, and said to me, there are so many places where the Milstein name is in this city. I really knew I was meeting a builder of the greatest city in the world, and I was immediately in awe of Paul Milstein. Irma and I spoke about this new building. She asked for information. At first, there was a sketch. Then there were some renderings. Finally, there were floor plans. We spoke about the dream of having an integrated heart center. And it didn't take Irma more than a half a minute to say, I want to see the Milstein name on that heart center. Of course, we began to give her more information. She read everything. She listened to everything. Irma asked a lot of questions. And when the time was just right, she made a transformational pledge from the Paul and Irma Milstein Foundation to support the construction of what is now known as the Irma and Paul Milstein Heart Center. My only regret was that she didn't get to the dedication of the Heart Center in 2018. At that point, she was frail. It was difficult for her to make the trip. But of course, she was represented by her son and daughter-in-law, Howard and Abby Milstein. Irma actually really didn't have to be there. Having her name in lights wasn't about Irma. It was about supporting projects that she loved. It was about making an impact in her lifetime that would affect people throughout her life and beyond her life. She was such a special lady. One of the special dividends of my work in Hadassah has been getting to know amazing men and women, and meeting Irma Milstein was perhaps my most proudest time in my life. I miss Irma. I think of her with love, and I know all of you do as well. Thank you very much.
On behalf of my brother and sisters and the whole Milstein family, I want to thank you for honoring my mother, Irma Milstein, Alav Shalom, with this program today. As the previous speakers have said, she was truly a woman of valor. She passed away last March at the age of 95. Her spirit of caring and zest continues to animate and guide our family, as well as the many institutions she supported. As you know, she was a lifetime member of Hadassah with a history that went back more than 60 years. The Heart Center we endowed in Ein Kerem was one of her last mitzvahs in a legacy of generosity, grace, and caring. She would have been deeply moved by the words of the doctors, leaders, patients, and administrators who spoke here today. My family has been privileged to support many built spaces and programs. My father would ask the pragmatic questions: size, shape, cost, etc. My mother would want to know about the human dimensions, and in this case, how many patients will be served? How many lives can be saved? How many families will come? What research breakthroughs can we make? And both would want to be assured that the space they named would be beautiful and state-of-the-art. The Paul and Irma Milstein Heart Center at Ein Kerem has achieved that and more. This is a space that's both physical and spiritual, not far from the Chagall's. My mother would have been so proud of this cutting-edge facility, now recognized as the best in Israel and one of the top in the world. My mother saw Hadassah's mission statement as the highest expression of the founding ideals of the State of Israel, to forge links between patients of all nationalities, races, and religions who come through its doors for healing. The Jews and Arabs who come through Hadassah's doors to heal and to be healed are the realization of this inclusive vision that inspired my mother and the rest of our family. Irma's memory will always be a blessing. A part of that blessing finds its home here in this Heart Center. Thank you for this moving tribute to my mother, and may you continue to go from strength to strength. Thank you.
Thank you for attending this beautiful and meaningful ceremony. This tribute captures Irma's own heart and extends her life and her impact that she has made to Hadassah in Karen. May her memory be for a blessing. Thank you all so much.